Well, we knew this was going to be a tough matchup for Arkansas here after the injuries we've talked about all week long. Alabama getting the win 84-69. There's a nice song called Home by Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros, and they say, Alabama, Arkansas, I do love my mom, Pa, Steve. Well, I'll tell you what, Arkansas better go get a hug from their parents from mom and pa because they got beat pretty bad in this one to the Crimson Tide. We knew it was happening. We knew it was coming, but we didn't know it was going to be this bad. They shot pretty cold in this one. There's a lot of fouls on each side, a lot of maybe some questionable calls, if you will, maybe some calls that weren't called fouls that were left alone. We can definitely talk about and criticize the refs. I think in this one, we're not going to. We're not going to go that far. It's as far as going to go. However, Alabama looked pretty good in this one for the most part, especially towards the end. They really lit it up. 46% from the field, 45% from beyond the arc, 9 for 20. As for Arkansas, not good. 42% from the field, only 20% from the 3-point line. And they needed some help from guys like Black and Walsh, and it just wasn't the case. We saw some great play from Davis. Davis was easily the star for Arkansas, but not a lot of good things for this Razorback team. I think we're going to slowly see them sneak out of the top 25 while they're dealing with these injuries, Steve.
Yeah, and it's always disappointing when injuries affect a team's performance. But even if they were completely healthy, Alabama was maybe not going to give them the beatdown that they gave them tonight. But Alabama was going to win this game. Alabama is the best team in the SEC. I mean, flat out, there's nobody even close to them in the SEC right now, and there's still a lot of really good teams out there. Alabama is the cream of the crop. What Nate Oates is doing is unbelievable. This was a really intense game. I mean, it was a physical game. A lot of guys fouled out. A lot of guys were flirting with fouling out. There was a really strange, away from the play, double technical, on each team early in the first half. I mean, there was a lot of emotion in this game, but it was really clear from the first couple of minutes that Alabama was going to just eventually slowly pull farther and farther away from Arkansas, and Arkansas just didn't have the answers for them.
I'm going to let you add on to that a little bit. You say Alabama's the best team in the SEC. You think that they're better, and you said by a long shot. You think they're better than Tennessee by a long shot?
By a long shot. Because Alabama, if they put their mind to it, can play shutdown defense like Tennessee can. Alabama is much more athletic. Alabama is much deeper. There's much more length to their roster. Alabama. I'm going to have to start working on my Southern accent. I mean, I did live in Mississippi for a little while, so I can pull a really good drawl if I really have to. I'm not going to do the LSU coaches thing, trying to do the drawl at halftime.
Brian Kelly.
Yeah, Brian Kelly. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Though, I mean, I've embarrassed myself other ways. I don't see why I couldn't do it doing that. But no, Alabama is the best team in the SEC, and I'm starting to believe that Alabama is going to start to make a climb to being the number one team in the country. That's how impressed I've been with Alabama since the very first game of the year on through this. I think they've got everything a number one team in the country should have.
Yeah, we got it on tape. You talking about your love letter to Nate Oates there about since the beginning of the season. So yeah, you definitely have been on board with them for sure. We saw some great play from Miller and Clowney. They were some good support players in this one for the Crimson Tide. But I mean, all nods in this one has to go to Sears. I mean, Sears was fantastic in this one. Mark Sears really took off 7 for 16 from the field, 26 points. I mean, he just looked great. He looked really good in this one. He was the reason that Alabama just kind of ran away with this one. Now, Clowney had some great 3-point shots. Sears obviously did good from beyond the arc as well. There was a couple daggers towards the end of it, once, especially towards like the 4 or 5 minute mark left in the game. You thought that Arkansas could maybe keep it close. Alabama got rid of that real quick in the last few minutes of this one. Really kind of were just draining the clock, if you will. I really like what Sears does with the ball. I think he's a fantastic player. When we start talking about some of the top players in the SEC, I think you have to put him in the category without question.
Oh, yeah. And the thing with Sears, again, he was perfect from the line. He was 10 for 10. He's going to drive. He's going to draw, fouls. So if he can go 10 for 10 from the line, and I believe on the year, I believe he's shooting well above 80%. I could be wrong on the number there, but I'm pretty sure that he is. Brandon Miller is the engine under the hood, if you will, for the Crimson Tide. But Mark Sears is the fuel. You can have the largest, most efficient engine. If you don't have the right fuel, you're not going to connect. You're not going to really get the performance out of that engine. And Mark Sears is that fuel. And another guy, he didn't have a huge night this night, is Bediako. You have to always be concerned with a 7-footer in the paint, because he's nimble enough that if he gets behind the defender, we saw that in the Kentucky game, he's gonna get those looks and get those easy layups and plays at the rim, because he's really deceptively quick and he's got quick feet. So Alabama can beat you a lot of different ways. I think that their shooting, because it has increased and has improved so much over last year, I think that was the one Achilles heel for Nate Oates' team last year. But they've really made an effort to not only bring people in, but also the players already on the roster working hard. The fact that their shooting percentage has increased, I want to say it might be as much as 10% on the whole for the entire season. I guess I should have done more homework, so when I say something like that, I actually have things to back it up. I'm sure there's somebody out there that's going to say, well, no, Feck, it's only 8.6%. Well, it's closer to 10 than 5, so I'm going to say 10%. But really, I mean, Alabama, there's just sometimes you just see a team and you just fall in love with the way they play. For you and I covering college basketball, it was the UTSA Roadrunners this year. But Alabama's that team for me. When we did the previews, we all spoke highly. We thought that there was a lot of potential there, and maybe they would be able to kind of flirt with the top 3 or top 4 teams in the conference. I mean, they are the class. They are the absolute class of this conference. And that's not a knock against Tennessee. It's just the fact that this very well might be the best Alabama side that I can remember in my lifetime. And that's going back to the guy with the loud sports jacket. What was it? Flip Sanderson was the coach there for years, I believe. And he had some really, really good athletic teams. This team is athletic, but this team can play. Being athletic is one thing, and having the possibility of doing things. Alabama does it night in, night out.
As for Sears, 77.1% from the free throw line, just below 80%. But yeah, you're right. He's shooting fantastic throughout the season. He's just under 50% from the entire field so far this year. As for Bama, on Saturday, ESPN, 4:00 Eastern, they take on LSU, 12-4. LSU is one of those sneaky teams this year. They're a sneaky team. That's exactly the best I can say. Their women's team is fantastic right now, breaking records. But on the men's side, though, sneaky team. That's one of those teams that I can see them sneaking into the top 25 eventually once the season's over. They're going to have to get through some tough SEC play, though. Not sure they can get through Bama. This one is at Coleman Coliseum. That should be a fantastic one for Bama. I'm going to take them, obviously, without question. And then next Tuesday, they take on Vanderbilt. That should be a good one as well. Vanderbilt always comes to play. They find a way to stay in there for the longest time. Their record doesn't show it, but they usually play some good basketball for the most part, I should say.
Yeah, I think they're a tough matchup for a team like Alabama because they play a style that can neutralize some of Alabama's athleticism. So, yeah, that's going to be a great game. But that LSU game, boy, is that going to be fun. I mean, it's going to be highlight after highlight, I'm pretty sure. So even if you don't get to watch the game live, folks, I'm sure on SportsCenter, if you go on YouTube, we'll be talking about the game, I'm sure, as well. You're going to see some amazing play in that one. So you might want to make some time on your calendar. Pray for rain or snow so you have to stay in and watch that game.
Speaking of Stackhouse's Commodores, Vanderbilt does take on Arkansas on Saturday before they take on Alabama. So we're going to see that Arkansas team try to get back to where they were at one point this season. We see them lost to LSU by 3. We saw them lose to Auburn. We saw them now lose to Bama. They've lost 3 of their last 4, with the only win to Missouri, which was a nice win at the beginning of the year. However, Arkansas struggling with losing the last 3 or 4. They head in to take on Vanderbilt here, and that's going to be a tough one in Nashville. That's going to be a really tough one at Memorial Gymnasium. Where they sit right now, if they play exactly like they played against Alabama, I think they can actually win that game, because for the majority of the game, they looked really good. Towards the end, they struggled really hard. So I think they obviously have to take care of that. But if you compare the talent on Alabama compared to Vanderbilt, I think if they play just like they did, maybe just slightly a little better, Arkansas should do just fine. College basketball, playing at home, though, I mean, there's something about it.
Yes.
Teams protect that court. I know it might not mean as much in college football or maybe some other sports, but it means a lot in college basketball. And you start noticing that a lot with the stats, and you see it with the spreads. Playing at home matters, and this one's in Nashville. So Arkansas, do they go down? Do they lose 4 or 5? Is this another loss on their belt? Are you worried about this squad, especially as they still worry about injuries and getting healed up?
I don't know that I worry about Arkansas. I'm wondering if Arkansas is just coming back down to earth a little bit. We sit here. I mean, we're fans, so so it's not like we're NBA scouts, or we're looking at it from an X and O standpoint. We're fans, and when a team like Arkansas has those big flashy games, yeah, I think you start to say, well, wow, maybe they're better than we thought. And then they're one of those teams that are coming back to earth a little bit. I mean, you could even say within the SEC, Kentucky's that team. On paper, wow, Kentucky, wow. Kentucky could very easily be a 500 or lower team this year, just the way things are playing out for them. I'd like to see what they can do when they get 100% healthy. But are any teams really, especially in the SEC, because it's such a black and blue conference, is any team really going to be 100% healthy at any time? So maybe they're just suffering their injuries now, and maybe they can capitalize later as teams kind of get banged up a bit.
Yeah, let's see what happens. Let's see what teams come on top after the weekend of some tough conference games. Let us know your thoughts in the comment description below. What do you think about this game between Arkansas and Alabama? Were you just as surprised? Well, not surprised. Are you just as impressed with Alabama as Steve is here, as he's been all season? Do you think they can find a way to be the #1 team in the country at some point this year? Let us know your thoughts below. Hit like and subscribe while you're there. And thanks for watching SlasherU.